windshield time, and I thought I would just talk about one of the big things that I think customers complain to me about, not getting bids back from other contractors. So one of the toughest things there is for us to do as landscape contractors and lawn service contractors is pricing. It's so hard to price things accurately. There's just so many cost driving factors, and every project is so unique and so different. To remember every single thing, especially at first when you don't even necessarily know what you're going to have to do or what you're getting into. Maybe you don't know the pieces of equipment available to you out there to make the job easier. It's really hard to price things. So, obviously with 17 and a half, almost 18 years of experience doing it, I'm pretty good. I pump out most of my estimates pretty quick, and I feel like turning around estimates in a timely manner allows you to get a lot more jobs. But if the jobs aren't profitable, what good does it do you? And if you turn the bids around and they're overpriced and overbid, that's not going to do you any good either, because you're not probably going to get those jobs unless it's in a frenzied market, which we have had a little bit over the last year or two. So maybe some guys have had some success like that. And I know a lot of construction guys have been in a feeding frenzy for a while. It's hard to find good construction guys. So some of those rates have gotten a little out of control. But I think inevitably your rates got to be fair, and they've got to be based on something. And today I ran across a job that I don't do a lot of. I don't do a lot of fence removal because I don't build fences. But the customer has like 142 feet of fence, about 25 posts that got to come out of the ground. And I'm looking saying, man, how am I going to price this thing? Do I price it by the post, by the panel, by the foot? You can go on Google, you can see what Google says the prices are, but if you look at Google's prices and then you look at any prices of stuff you've actually done and made money on, you'll see that Google's prices are really low. So, you kind of look at that, because that's what a customer is probably going to do. They're probably going to Google it and look and see if you're being fair with them. They probably don't know what it actually costs to do the job or what it takes to make money. So it's up to you as the contractor to have the experience and have done it before a couple times, or at least something similar, where you've got a fairly good idea of what you're going to be taking to do the job as far as time goes and materials. The problem is when you're digging into the ground, you just never know what you're going to get into. And just like a remodeler would in a house, once you tear down a couple walls and excavate a little bit, you never know what's going to pop up, and you never know what extra stuff's going to have to be added in. A lot of times we think as much through as we can, and there's still something that we missed. And I think that's the hard part. That's why people don't want to put out prices. You find a lot of contractors, especially landscape and lawn maintenance contractors, who just don't want to give people a price. It's because they don't know what the price is. Because how do you figure such a unique project? I mean, essentially you start guessing. And what I've kind of done is I start looking at projects. If it's a smaller job, and I'll say, is it going to take us half a day? Is it going to take us a full day? How much do I need to make every day with each crew to cover the overhead, to make the profit that we're looking for? Obviously they got to cover material costs and the cost of their labor. So I just kind of figure it backwards, and I say, all right, based on our sales projections this year, if we got this many crews working on average, this many days a week, then we need to make this much every single day with each crew. And then I set it up, and I say, okay, I'm looking at this fence job, and I'm saying, well, each panel's about 140, 150 pounds. I could find that on Google. What I can't find is how many of these panels are going to fit in my dump trailer, or could I strap down to a flatbed? And I probably could strap them all down to a flatbed with nails and everything in them, though. I don't know. And then unloading them once you get to the landfill, I think it would be easier to take them in dump trucks or dump trailers. And looking at it, it looks like it's going to take me about 3 trips with full dump trailers to get them all out of there. Well, I know that our landfill is quite a ways away. You end up wasting almost 3 hours every trip you make. So and our landfill will not let you in. If you show up there after 3:30, those SOBs will literally not let you in. Like, man, I got a dump trailer. I can literally press a button and have it dumped in 10 minutes, and they will not let you in after 3:30. And I get it, because we get flat tires out there almost every other time we're out there. And so you got to kind of figure that cost into your price as well. And so you start adding all the stuff up, and it's like, well, 3 trips to the dump, that's basically a day and a half. And And then I'm still going to need some topsoil probably to fill in some of these fence post holes because they're not putting a new fence back in. And they're going to need some grass seed. All of a sudden, I'm looking at this saying, well, our daily rate's $1,250, so $625 per each half day. So you're at $1,875 just in your labor cost. You still got a dump fee you've got to account for, which I guess our total does include a little bit of materials. So I'm figuring we're going to have on a day of $1,250 that we're going to have about $250 in materials and about $1,000 in labor. So that material, since there's no material on a disposal, will just be the disposal fee. And we have plenty in there for the disposal fee, I think. They do charge by weight, but at about 4,000 pounds, I don't think, maybe just under 4,000, I don't think it's going to be more than maybe $100 for disposal fee. And you got a little bit of gas in there. But you throw your topsoil in, I mean, man, I'm at $2,000 to remove a fence. That seems astronomical to me. And if I was a new guy and I didn't have all the numbers I have and all of the, experience I have and just understand what it takes to do the job and really be able to think it through and say, how is this really going to go down? As opposed to looking at it and being like, oh, I could kick all these posts down and then I'll just haul them away in my truck, and then you're hauling in your truck for 3 days because you can only fit, 4 or 5 panels per truckload. And so I think for me, it's like I see a lot of guys who are struggling to get bids out, and I think the customers get frustrated with those guys. And I guess what I really want is to explain for the customers why these other guys are not able to get you these bids. They just haven't done enough of the work to really know what it costs. If they throw out a number, they're either going to be looking like an a-hole because they were way too high and like they were trying to screw you over and price gouge you, when the truth is they just didn't know, or they make it too cheap and then they get taken advantage of and they go do a bunch of work for free, which nobody really wants to do, especially not being in business for yourself. That's like the epitome of failure at that point. So it's a tough situation, and these guys, unfortunately, that's like the main job is to put together numbers. So it's really hard for guys to do that and do it accurately and feel good about themselves. The only way I've been able to do it is by literally tracking years and years of data and then retracking it and then tracking it again and reanalyzing it. And okay, what changed this time? Why did something change that time? Is there a reason why over at this job we made $5,000 and seemingly the same kind of job, but on this site for this customer, somehow we lost money? Like, how does that happen? And you've got to be in business for a long time and do a lot of projects to really get into the nitty-gritty like that. But once you do, and you've really got your prices honed in, then you can go and you can put your prices and you can put your bids out and be confident. And even though somebody may think you're price gouging them, if they really wanted an explanation, you could just break it down like I just did for you guys and be like, listen, this is how I look at it. Now, in actuality, is that what it's going to take? Probably. I might be off a little bit. Maybe my guys busted and they can squeeze in all 3 loads in a day. In fact, knowing my guys, would try. But the problem is with as many posts and panels as they're going to get out of there, plus the other work that I've bid, because there is a little bit of fill and grading work that needs to happen too, not from the fence, but from an old garden that's being removed. They're going to need a skid steer out there too. So now I'm looking at this saying, all right, I've got a skid steer on site for a day. And the rate for a skid steer is going to be a little bit higher than maybe my regular man-hour rate with some material. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff to consider when you're making these bids. Even for an experienced guy like me, I have to rack my brain every single time. And when my other estimators go out and do bids, I always rack my brain asking them questions to make sure that they've racked their brain enough that we've really thought it through. And I'm telling you, as much as we think it through and as much of the questions as we ask, we have mistakes a lot. So I can only imagine when people don't take the time to think it through and don't have the experience, how many mistakes they're going to make. And to be the customer who has to deal with all of that, I think that's why it's probably worth paying somebody who's got the experience the amount that we're charging, is because you don't have to worry about that. You know that we've already hammered out all of those problems. And while there's still going to be a small problem here and there, it's minimal compared to what the competition is probably going to give you.